So we're now at the village sign of Holcombe Rogus. And we actually parked the other side of the village and we had to walk all the way through because apparently it was just around the corner. But it turns out it was a little bit further than that, but it's all right. So yeah, we're now in the Tudor era. And this is quite a good example of what a Tudor village back then might have looked like, and some of the buildings are still reserved, so let's get on with it. Quite impressive. The current resident of the manor is someone called Harry Brancer. He moved in on February the 15th, 2001 when he purchased the property, and he paid over the guide price of 1.75 million. Mr. Brancer, I think it's Brancer. Yeah, I think it's Brancer. Mr. Brancer bought the Grade 1 listed manor as a wedding present for his wife 1 hour before he got married. He owns several listed buildings, including Clearwell Castle in Gloucester and Sleaze Priory in Essex. The house sits comfortably in a 1,308 acre estate, and it was built by Sir Robert Blewett in 1540 and was owned by the Blewett family for 418 years until 1858, when it was sold to Reverend William Rayer, who owns the church, which is there. Go. This plaque highlights Robert Blewett, the builder of the manor. This plaque also talks about the Blewett family. Yeah, it's quite interesting. There's actually sheep in the graveyard and they basically mow the lawn, basically, which is quite interesting. But while we're in the graveyard, I have a funny fact about Graves and Tudors and Henry VIII specifically. When they buried him in a lead coffin, and it actually exploded. Build-up of gases in his decomposing corpse, which weighed 178 kilos. That's quite interesting. It blew the ground up. It was quite impressive because he died of a leg illness or something, and he ate too much. He was too fat, basically. This little house here next to the church and the manor in the background there would have been where the priest would have lived who worked in the church. And it's got a nice little house. You can definitely tell it's Tudor by the brickwork. They really like that colour of brick, and it matches the manor perfectly. And it's connected to the graveyard. So this video we're looking at the earlier part of the Tudors, and the Tudors were from 1485-ish to about 1603 was when Elizabeth died, and it started with Henry VII. Then it went on to Henry VIII, who's probably one of the more famous ones, with his 6 wives, and then it went on to Edward VI. Then Lady Jane Grey, the 9-day Queen, then Mary I, and then ended with Elizabeth I, and then started the Stuarts era, which was with James I, and then went on after that. But what happened in the beginning of the Tudors was something called the Reformation, or the dissolution of the monasteries. Which was essentially Henry VIII. He wanted to get a divorce with Catherine of Aragon since she failed to give him a son, but the Catholic Church would not let him. And this chap called Martin Luther was running around Europe, specifically Germany, and he nailed his 95 Theses on the Catholic Church door in Wittenberg, Germany, and it was starting to spread quite quickly. And Henry VIII took this idea and he thought, well, let me use this idea in Britain, and then he opened something called the Church of England, which is still around today. And this happened in his reign from 1509 to 1547. On average, he dismantled 50 monasteries a month. It's quite impressive. And on the right here, the reason we chose this location is if you bring the camera in, it's actually a drinking well. So everyone in the village would come here and they would get their water and wash and do whatever there's to do with water. A lovely little rivulet running through the middle of the village. So what was Tudor life really like then? Well, they had a public well, which we've already seen. Most probably it linked up to this flowing water. But they loved music. I'll play a little bit of Green Seed, but I won't play all of it because I will get copyright strike, so I'll play about 5 seconds of it. What it might have sounded like. Sport was actually banned, and that could be why they were all very, 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 very fat. 90% of the population farmed and lived in villages like this one. Kids didn't live very long, they were dead by 12, most of them. Quite grim, but that is facts. And Henry VIII killed 70,000 people by execution because he was obsessed with it. Most specifically by the guillotine, or the execution act. Right, we just found a blue plaque on side one of the cottages. We zoom in and it says, British heritage, nothing of note has happened here. If you don't know what a blue plaque is, it's normally for where they put like famous people, where they lived, that kind of thing. No, nothing happened here. If you've been watching up until now, it means you've made it halfway through the series. A like and subscribe would be great, because there's more where that came from.